Powerboat Television, North America's premier boating show.
Here's this week's My Boat feature.
You know, there's no doubt wakeboarding is one of the most popular water sports, and it's because of this there are now many specialized wakeboarding boats. Trading up to a new one, however, can be very pricey. So this week on My Boat, we'll take you through the steps of installing an aftermarket wakeboard tower on this 94 Mastercraft. The tower to be installed was a black MT1 universal wakeboard tower by Monster Towers. As with any project, it's important to familiarize yourself with all parts and hardware for the install, as well as the instruction manual. While unpacking, do a quick inventory of all the parts and hardware included to make sure it's all there. The folks at Monster do a great job of including almost everything you need for the installation of your tower. But there are some extra basic tools required, including a masking tape, tape measure and pencil for marking, drill, silicone sealant, wrenches, and a ratchet. Also not included is a friend to lend a hand for the installation. You'll be saving yourself and your gel coat a lot of stress with a little extra help. The first step of the install is to plan the layout of the tower. Do this by installing the rear legs to the top section of the tower. Once both legs are tightened down, tighten the set screws on the swiveling ends of the top section so the rear legs are at an approximate 30-degree angle. From here, the tower can be lifted up and placed roughly where it would lay folded down. This part differs from each boat and how and where you want your tower to lay. Then you can begin to mark where you want the base plate to sit on the boat. Start with a rough mark first. Then, using a measuring tape, you can be more precise and cross-reference with each side. Bring in the base plate and center it up with your original mark. Then you can trace a rough outline around it for taping. To make sure both sides matched, we measured the distance from the base to the rub rail and from the base to another neutral object on the boat, in this case, the front vents. These measurements can then be transferred to the other side of the boat using the same reference points. You can then mark your measurements for taping. Cross-reference your measurements one more time because measure twice and cut once, while in this case drill. Before drilling, you'll want to do a rough fit of the completed tower by attaching the front legs to the center section. Use the provided hardware, being sure not to forget the white Teflon washers. By conveniently placing the front legs into cup holders, we are able to lift the tower up to see how it would look in place and check the window clearance. If you're happy with the look, you can then begin drilling. Put the base plate in to mark off the holes for drilling. Double check to make sure you have marked them center. Before drilling, it's recommended to use a punch to mark each hole to prevent the drill from wandering. We just use the drill bit in place of a punch, which works just as well. Then you can begin drilling, first with a pilot hole, then moving to a bigger hole. There are many tips and tricks used to prevent gel coat from chipping, and we opted to run the drill first in reverse, then switching it to forward. Be sure to check behind where you're drilling first to avoid any wires or cables. Once you've drilled both sides, you can then attach the base plates using the rubber padding as well. We opted to include silicone sealant as well for some added protection, but this step is purely optional. From here you can install the aluminum base plate, rubber seal, washers, and nylock nuts. This may not be the most favorable jobs of the install, so we recommend drawing straws. And of course, I got the short straw. When tightening, be careful not to crush the fiberglass. Each boat is different, so watch the rubber pads, and when it begins to depress, you're there. Then it's just a matter of repeating the same steps for the other side. Now you can install the base swivel to each base, and finally, the rear legs can be attached to each of the bases and tightened down. Having two people work on this step of the install can really shorten your time. With the rear legs installed, the tower really starts to take shape, and it's time to begin to install the front base plates. Line up the leg and base plate on a section that is clear, and mark for drilling. From here, you can repeat the same steps for installing both front pads as you did the rear. Following next with the swivel base with quick release. Now you can complete one of the final steps and attach the front legs to their base plate using the quick release knobs. With the legs on, the final step is to square up the tower. You do this by measuring from the top bolt on the top side to the bottom swivel on the adjacent side. Then repeat for the other sides. These measurements should match within 1/4 of an inch from each other. If not, fine-tuning is required. Once all square, you can go around making sure all nuts are tight and secure. The tower must be then locked into place. To do this, you can drill through the pilot hole on the rear leg to the top section. Securing the bolt and tightening down the nylock nut, Your tower is locked into place and ready for use. While the tower's on the boat, it looks great. You know, this really was a simple task that you and a buddy could do. The best part is these monster towers can fit virtually any boat. So as a wakeboarding fan, you should really consider this project. And the best part is, when you're done, you get to hit the water and have some fun. I know that's where I'm headed.